You want me to go today?
Right now.
I like to wait so I can see the numbers.
Just don't forget.
So,
YouTube is
forget,
up.
Gloria,
YouTube's live. Microphones are hot.
I have not missed a vote in my lifetime. None.
Me neither.
Never missed a vote. People died so I could do that.
Amen to that.
What a turnout.
Yay.
Fantastic.
Yay, we love it.
Golf cart path that goes down Broadwood Church behind. Do you know that one?
Yeah, so we went there today. We drove it today because I was unaware of it until today. I had heard people talking about it, but if you go, we'll talk about it in the meeting. If you go, you know where Clayton State University is?
I do.
Or if you go there but you keep going straight,
Okay.
in that area, you
And that
come to a
abuts
kind of a
next to-
cul-de-sac.
Right.
If you keep going straight where you think you're not supposed to, it's literally the old Sonoya Road. It's still striped.
Really?
You can still see the stripes. And to your left is Highway 74.
I'll have to take a ride
Like
back afterwards.
probably 100 feet. Something like that. You can see cars. Can you bang that for me? There we go.
Pardon us.
All right.
Thank you.
Good to see everybody, and I think we're all friends here. So rarely do we have a meeting with this many people where we can actually say that we all agree. I think we're pretty close to all of us agree. And I won't make you raise your hand if you disagree with us, but so first I want to kind of give a quick background, and then I'm going to go over some facts. And then we'll take some questions, and we'll go from there. I want to thank two of our council members who are here, Mr. Billy Campbell and Ms. Gloria Furr. And we would have one's out of town, but we would have all of them here that we could, but that would mean a quorum. So we're not allowed to have a quorum without advertising it ahead of time. We didn't have the time to do that. So thank you two for being here, and for all of our council in being engaged on this issue. And it's been fairly quick that this has sprung upon us. At least I would say it began early September, where we started hearing some grumblings about what was to occur, and namely that the Kedron Hills Neighborhood Association had voted overwhelmingly to close off access to all county and Tyrone residents to get into Peachtree City at that spot, at that location. They then notified the city council, Peachtree City Council, of their desires. And I will say that it has not been on an agenda for Peachtree City. It has, it is not on an agenda for Peachtree City as of this point. And we're going to kind of move into the facts here soon. To this point, there have been a lot of conversations. And kind of many of my conversations personally were, well, it's hard for us to have a conversation right now because we don't know what what they would plan to do. They meaning Peachtree City or Ketchern Hills Homeowners Association. And so I personally was kind of impatient. I don't know how you guys were, and kind of saying, well, we can't just stand here. It's just, something's going to happen. And the response was, well, what's going to happen? They haven't proposed anything in a council meeting. They haven't said what they're going to do, and we got to wait for official action before we can say what we're going to do. And I know that you all share my sentiment that government moves too slowly. And when we want to get something done, it moves too slowly. And that was the case here. We couldn't really do anything other than talk until this point. By the way, you guys, if you're standing, you feel free to come sit wherever you want. This is not an official meeting. We don't even care if you sit up here in these comfortable chairs. So, is that Eric behind that mask? You feel free to come sit up here if you'd like. Okay. That brings us kind of, raise your hand if you're on Facebook. All right, you've seen a lot. And we have a couple of people who have researched this issue so well that they should probably be leading this meeting instead of me. They know what's going on. And so we've had dozens of conversations with Peachtree City Council members, mayor, county commissioners, school board members, staff, employees, attorneys. Who else? Have we, what other categories of people? Obviously, citizens.
Yeah.
Anybody else? So trying to get as much information as we could. And we'll probably go back to what all has transpired over the last couple months. But let's go over some facts, because much of what is discussed out there and what is put on Facebook, for example, and Philip, make sure you don't put Facebook up here, okay? What you just see on Facebook, facts are not right. So we have to make sure we're all on the same page about what we have here. First of all, 74 is controlled and owned by GDOT. We can't do anything with GDOT or with 74. It's not like we can block entry or anything like that. We can't do anything with GDOT unless we go through a long process of asking permission or having them do so. So let's take 74 off the table, other than discussions with them about crossing or something like that. Other facts. The road in question, Crabapple, it's owned and maintained by the county. It's not a Tyrone road. Half of it, on one side of it, is Tyrone. On the other side of it is county. By law, if one side or one piece of a road is the town and one piece is the county, it is a county road. So that county is owned and maintained by the county. We just have been a little more engaged on this issue because it impacts more town residents than it does county residents. That is not to say that the county is not interested in this. I've spoken with almost every county commissioner, and without a doubt, I don't want to put words in everybody's mouths, but the ones that I have spoken to have said, we're with you on this. And I know that Commissioner Maxwell, I spoke to him earlier today. He spoke at the last county commission meeting in opposition to the city wanting to do this. So the county is good with us. We've seen some chatter about, is the county we need to go after the county. So they're good on this. They are on our side. And they object. There are things that they could do and may do and might even need to do that would be something that the city would, Peachtree City, would not like as a result of blocking off that road. You're going to hear me be vague in a lot of situations. We are live streamed. Therefore, I'm being even more vague than normal. And so I apologize for that. If you need me to be more specific, you can always come visit me in my office or call me on my cell phone, whatever you choose to do. And our council members are informed on this. I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to you, and staff too. So if you need details, we need to go that route. But I choose to be a little bit more vague because it's hard quoting people. I don't want to do that and miss the mark. And I don't even want to characterize other people's opinions any more than they have given me permission to do so. What other facts do we have? Brandon, Phillip, council members, what facts?
Do we know whether the title for that piece of property in question has been passed from the city of Peachtree City to the citizens of that subdivision?
It has not.
Okay.
That would be required. It would be required, or at least it would be required. Brandon and I were talking about this earlier. Would this be something that the neighborhood association ended up doing after acquiring that property, or would the city just do it? Either way, it's blocked. So it really doesn't matter to us whether the city blocks it or the neighborhood blocks it. It's blocked, and we don't want that. I know another fact that we want to discuss. Some have said that the neighborhood association doesn't want to close access to golf carts. They just want to close access to cars, vehicles. We'll call vehicles cars and trucks, that kind of thing. That, based on things that we have read from the president of the HOA, that's not true. They do want to close off access to golf carts. That may not be true for every one of the residents of Kedron Hills. They may have been thinking they were voting only for cars when they cast that vote. That vote was, my understanding, that vote was 111 to 5. So that's pretty overwhelming. Any other facts that to lay the groundwork so we're all on the same page before we get started on this? I want to make sure everybody has the right facts.
Is it legal for a city to close a road, a county road?
They would close it in their jurisdiction. They wouldn't close it in the
But
county.
is that legal to close a road?
I believe so.
There's there are a lot of hoops to jump through, and there's a process to go through, and with it connecting to another jurisdiction's roadway, that adds more layers of complexity to it. But yes, there in some circumstances, you all could choose to abandon a roadway and shut it down. It's rare. I'll give you, for instance, that I'm familiar with. In the city of Noonan at Central Baptist Church, the church wanted to expand its building, and they went through there was a street that went directly adjacent to the church that they wanted to build over and add on to this church. Well, the church went through a process with the city of Noonan. They abandoned that road. They sold the property and the right-of-way to the church, and the church expanded, and now where my son goes to Boy Scouts, it's literally on top of where there used to be a city street.
But
So-
that doesn't impact a lot of citizens.
Exactly. So, yes, there are very few circumstances under which you would do something like that.
I'll give you another fact that this is important. There have been at least 2 offers made on that property that are higher, significantly higher than the offers discussed for the neighborhood to pay to the city. That's a fact. I don't mind saying that. And again, I'm sorry for being vague when I'm vague. You're probably sitting there thinking, I wish this politician would just talk to us like normal people. I just don't feel comfortable being too specific and getting myself in trouble.
And maybe this is more for Philip because he's got his map up here. By closing that, does that give them, their second entrance for emergency vehicles, or are they gonna be shutting themselves down so that they only have one exit and one entrance for that subdivision?
So let me just take a shot at this and then you add on to it. Philip, how many houses, at what threshold or houses do you have to have a second entrance to a subdivision in Tyrone?
So I'll just clarify that each city has
Correct.
different subdivision regulations.
That's why I'm saying in Tyrone.
Yeah, in the town, I believe that threshold is 80.
Okay, so if you're building this is not perfectly accurate, so if you're planning on building a subdivision here, you don't, make sure you come back to him for,
There are also
to
fire
confirm it.
marshal standards
Okay.
that play on that as well.
if you,
Normally,
if
they
you're gonna
match.
build one with 80 or more homes, you have to have 2 entrances in Tyrone. If you're gonna build a home or a neighborhood with it has 100 or more in the county, then you have to have a second entrance. We're not sure yet if that Peachtree City has a rule like this, but they have over 200 homes in there. And if you include, is it Kedron Estates? Is that the name of the second neighborhood back in there? If you include that, I think it takes it almost to 240 homes. They only have one entrance, except for this one. So from an emergency vehicle standpoint, they're really running into some trouble. So if they're not violating their own code by doing this, but I'm going somewhere I'm uncomfortable going, because it's almost like we're trying to tell Peachtree City what to do with their code, and I don't want to go there. I'm just telling you what our code is, what the county code is, and that's what I know on that front.
I can add a little bit more to Mr. Campbell's question. In a letter from the Kedron Hills Community Association Board to their membership, the announcement for their September 14th meeting, when they talked about this, they mentioned that, let me get to the part, the association will agree to provide and maintain a gate or other barrier preventing access to and from the dirt road portion of Crabapple Lane, parentheses, while allowing access by emergency vehicles. So it sounds like they want to put a gate up that only, there's probably a combination, or I don't know if it's electronic gate, but something that would allow for that purpose.
Why don't we change our format here a little bit, out of respect for our council members? We'll take questions from you guys first, and then we'll move to our guests. Are there any other questions that you all?
Right, and I'd like to hear from them. Because you got a lot of people.
Yeah, we still got seats up front.
There's seats here. You guys can sit on the seats here.
Yeah, I already
up in
told them
front
that.
If you'd like to sit.
Yeah.
Don't want to sit down.
Okay, so I'm comfortable with you we have to be careful, but normally when we have public hearings or something like that, we require, a limit to 3 minutes, and we're all formal. I don't want to be that way. I want you to be able to ask a question, but if you have a question that's longer than 3 minutes, why don't we just kind of raise our hands and I'll point on you and we'll take the questions that way. All right, the first hand I saw was back here on the row, second from the back. Yes, go ahead and stand, sir. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. Okay. The Kedron Hills Association, Homeowners Association would answer that question one way, and I believe they are tired of having traffic coming through their neighborhood to get to Peachtree Parkway. And I understand that. We have neighborhoods in Tyrone that have traffic coming from Coweta and try to get to Peachtree City. We get that. I understand that. That's up for discussion. I was never asked to come and discuss. Were y'all asked to come and discuss this issue? We were never asked to come and discuss the problems that they were faced with. The bigger issue in my mind is that if you're talking about closing it off to golf carts, that sends a different message. And I won't go any more on that. So I think that's all I can say to that. So now Peachtree City does have an issue with the maintenance, the financing for the maintenance of their golf cart path system. They will tell you that they bring in a certain amount of money for maintaining the golf cart paths, and it costs them a higher amount than that. So they are trying to figure out a way to better finance their maintenance of the golf cart system. And so if more golf carts continue to come in, then that problem will only be compounded. And there are future neighborhoods. Well, as you know, there are new neighborhoods that have been built in that area in Tyrone. And there are future neighborhoods that are proposed. So they're just looking at all of this and they're saying, all right, this is them speaking. This is getting out of control. We need to block people from coming in. All right, next. Yes, ma'am.
Have the businesses in Peachtree City
I've heard nothing. I would love to have that done. I would love to see that Peachtree City businesses are saying, what in the world? Why wouldn't you encourage people to come in? So, but I've not been informed of any of that. Yes, in the corner back there. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me clarify a couple things there. I think when you say you're taxed by Peachtree City and you live in, I think you're talking about your golf cart registration fee. We charge Peachtree City $15, I believe. They charge us $165.
Well, to clarify on that point, sir, that we still honor the reciprocal agreement. And so if you have a registered golf cart in Peachtree City and you're operating in Tyrone, you're not gonna get stopped.
Right. You can cross Dogwood. Right. Well, then what were you talking about? You said, oh, I can't drive on Dogwood. Okay. All right, okay. I understand what you're saying there. We are very close to building, finishing or actually constructing a golf cart path on Tyrone Road, which would.
It's
Alright,
coming.
We are
It's
literally
coming.
in the design and property acquisition
That's-
phase as we speak.
All right, this right here is what has to stop.
Yep.
If we're gonna ask, we're gonna be getting questions from you. If you don't trust me, I use the word construct intentionally. We are about to construct the golf cart path on Tyrone Road. Right-of-way acquisition has been a disaster in trying to get that golf cart path built. That's why I use the word construct. We are doing that. What else did I not answer in your question, ma'am? I'm going to ask Philip to address that in just a minute, just to kind of give you an example of what our options are. But I do want to say one thing, and I might not gain any friends by saying this. Our priority with regard to the golf cart system is to help Tyrone businesses, is to feed Tyrone. I'm speaking for myself, okay? I'm not speaking for them because it's not like we voted on this. We have an obligation to keep people in Tyrone as best we can. It's my desire personally, I would like to see people have the opportunity and ability to get into Peachtree City. People in Tyrone have children that go to Crabapple Elementary. I would like for them to be able to get there. Getting over that, over the railroad track is a challenge. And driving on a road that has dump trucks on it. So, these are challenges, but I think the premise of your question is assuming that it's a responsibility of ours to get you to Peachtree City. We want to get you to Peachtree City, but it's our responsibility to have people within Tyrone, giving them the ability to get to downtown Tyrone. That's why we're building what we're building on Tyrone Road to get to Hanley Road and ultimately to downtown Tyrone. And so if I just upset a bunch of you, I'm sorry, that's just me. Don't get upset with them. Up against the wall, I saw your hand up. Dogwood Church. That's another thing that I'm going to have Philip show you here in just a minute. That is a possibility. Whether we drop the speed limit on that road, I don't think you drop it for just
Well, the problem
Sure.
is Dogwood Trail is a truck route.
Okay.
And I don't want to commingle golf carts and dump trucks. I don't think that's a good idea.
Get
So
you
it's not a
next.
matter of dropping the speed limit. It's, we have to take all these things into account. That you got to be able to get the trucks to the rock quarries from the other side of the county. And we have to look at ways to hopefully get golf carts from Far Road to Peachtree City. So we're trying to figure out a way to make both things happen. Philip is drawing up something right now. The mayor and I were out riding the area earlier today. There are some potential things or some potential paths forward out there, but I do not feel like commingling golf carts and trucks on Tyrone Road is one of them.
So a path on Dogwood Road, but it would be great. There is a huge creek there, so we'd be looking at a really sizable bridge, which those are costly. But that's a real desire of ours. And so, because it would work, if this gets closed. Hopefully it doesn't. Let me answer this gentleman's question, and well, ask one, and then we'll come back to you later. Uh-huh. No, it is,
Different issue.
why isn't it better?
Why do we all desire to go to Peachtree City? Golf cart trails are. I understand things take time. Property acquired farm up and coming. On your watch, y'all haven't moved the needle.
Okay.
And so everybody wants to go to Peachtree. Anybody here from Peachtree? Because they have all the amenities. Waffle House. Where I live, I have to go all the way down Peachtree. Not being fair to your merchants. If you say you want to grow your
Okay. I would say that's less of a question than it is an accusation or a commentary, so I'll take it as such. Well, you just said, why isn't Tyrone better? But I think that would take a long time, I mean, to discuss, because I would need specifics. What do you mean, why isn't it better? Give me a specific.
property acquisition, but
Okay, somebody will have to, I think when we, do you want to take a shot? I know when we began to work on our system, we had trails that were in disrepair, and we had to prioritize to improve because they were literally hazards. So we began there. Go ahead, and I see you you seem like you want to say something, and I'll come back if there's something that.
Well, I mean, just in terms of the paving of new trails, like new trails that exist in the past 10 years, I'm not aware of any new trails that the town has paved in the past 10 years. I do know that the Town of Tyrone's municipal millage is about half of Peachtree City's. So I know funding for cart paths is difficult, especially with some of the, natural and kind of man-made barriers that we have in terms of getting to Peachtree City specifically. But in terms of like the new paths that are on the dotted line, so to speak, those new paths were put on the 2017 SPLOST. That's where the funding is coming from on those projects. It's a 5-year or 6-year SPLOST. And so, 6-year SPLOST. So those projects are getting funded over the course. There was some in the 2007 comp plan that identified. Yep, yeah, 2007 comp plan identified a few locations for certain paths. Those were proposals that were made along Highway 74 in particular. GDOT has, after that comp plan came out, said that golf carts are not permitted within their right-of-way. So that was something that was proposed by the town, had a conversation with GDOT. GDOT kind of, for lack of a better term, shut that conversation down. So those paths and those proposed paths along those types of state-owned right-of-ways were they were no longer feasible for the town to complete. In regards to new connections into Peachtree City, there are a couple of different routes and options that come with their own, issues. One being Dogwood Church. The portion of the right-of-way for Old Sonoya Road is what I think a lot of people are referencing that connects in there. The only issue that we kind of see with that is that that portion here, as you can see on the map, that red portion is entirely within Peachtree City's jurisdiction, so there would be nothing preventing them from doing this exact same thing there. And we encounter that in a lot of different areas in the town. It's been kind of made clear to us that Peachtree City is not necessarily interested in making those connections, and any pre-existing connections that may happen may be cut off. So it'd be unfortunate for the town to invest in infrastructure to connect there if Peachtree City has within their jurisdiction the ability to cut access here. The same goes for Tullamore subdivision. It is a subdivision that has connection into Peachtree City here off of Ashcott Drive. And same thing, Peachtree City owns this portion of the road. If they chose to cut access and we provided new path access there, then that would be unfortunate because Peachtree City would have that connectivity. I know here a lot of the discussion about getting to Maple Shade is one that people talk about all the time. I know people drive on Sonoya Road at that portion. The big hurdle there is CSX. They're very difficult to work with, and they don't really mess around with any kind of transportation projects, especially pedestrian, golf cart, what they call PTV, private transportation vehicle. And crossing a CSX right-of-way would require what they call a not at grade crossing. You can't cross it at grade like a vehicle. You have to go above or below. And those are usually $1 million projects plus. So those have been a lot of the hurdles in terms of getting into Peachtree City. And it would be unfortunate for us to build invest in $1 million project that then Peachtree City could just kind of cap on their end. So that's been a struggle for us, just from a Peachtree City connectivity perspective, if that makes sense.
And let me just say, to sum up your question, if I can't, not yet. You say, why isn't Tyrone better? If you think that we didn't run because we want to make it better, you'd be missing the mark. I've never met you, to my knowledge. I may have. You feel free to call me, and I want to sit down with you, and I want to know how you would propose that we make it better, that we're not. Through downtown, we're limited in what we can do or attract businesses to do without sewer. So we've invested $2 million to get sewer to downtown for that purpose. So to say that, why haven't you made it better? I think we have. It just might be underground so far. Now, you wanted to continue your question.
All these hurdles have been there. As you said, that was the goal, was to invest in
There are investments, sir. They might not be tangible to you right now, but there are. In the last couple of years, there have been a lot. I've been with the town for 23 years. We have made more strides towards improvement in the last couple of years than the 20 previous. Okay? We have, as the mayor stated, we have invested in infrastructure downtown for sewer because we had several businesses that their septic tanks were failing. And the health department was literally going to shut them down. So, well, yeah, we don't have our own treatment
That's just to
plant.
get water.
But
or sewer.
So we have invested in that. So now we have a better infrastructure, a better platform for businesses to come in. We can support more commercial. We're wrapping up now a Livable Centers Initiative downtown study. That included a market analysis. It included several months of an outside firm coming in, working with us, doing public outreach, finding out what our citizens want to see downtown, finding out what we can support downtown based on the market. That was a $200,000 project. We got a $160,000 grant from the state to do it. That was the largest grant of its kind for that year, was awarded to Tyrone for that purpose. We are in the middle of formulating a downtown development authority, which will be a panel of 7 citizens and business owners from downtown. And their primary goal is going to be finding ways to attract business, to, get people downtown through events. And it's just going to be an economic driver for downtown. All of those things are in place. No, they're not tangible. You're not seeing new construction, you're not seeing, but there are things in the works. We have a new zoning district for downtown, TCMU, Town Center Mixed Use, that gives downtown property owners more, if they get that rezoning, it gives them more use of their property. And it has a more traditional, type of, setbacks and things like that. So there's a lot that we're doing to make Tyrone better, okay? We're not saying we're perfect, we're not, but there's a lot that we're doing to try to make things better.
All right, let me just say this. I think we've gotten a little bit sidetracked. Listen, please come see me. I mean, you and I can spend 2 hours together. I'm sure council would be willing to do so too. You sound like you really know what's going on, and I'd love to hear it. So, but I don't want to get this meeting too sidetracked on why Tyrone is terrible. So, all right, in the blue shirt? Thank you. We've asked our attorney to address a few issues inside this whole issue, this umbrella of issues. One of which is in that ballpark. And, it's not like Tyrone would be filing a lawsuit against Peachtree City. That won't happen, as far as I know. It's can they do what they're doing? Can you evaluate from a legal standpoint, can they do what they're doing? And so that is being assessed because we want to know, how is this possible? How is this legally possible? I can tell you that there's something called the 30-year rule that is a problem for them, I believe, in what they're trying to do. And that was my question. This road was there way before you guys were there. How on earth that's rather presumptuous to come in and take, a road that has been there for decades and decades. Gloria, how long has that road been there?
A long time. I played in that creek. Yeah, it's been there a long time.
So the answer to your question is that's being explored because that is a problem. Sure. I feel like this is, what's her name at White House? You're right. Right.
Properties on Crabapple Lane that
Right. Right. It is. We've made that point to them to say, first of all, how was it 111 to 5? It seems like it would have been more, there would have been a higher number of those opposed to it because they use that road. But we get that, and that has been addressed too. Yes, in the Plaid. Yes. Gloria, do you want to say anything to that, or?
No, that
is-
creek was Gin Branch. You know, I mean, yeah, it's been there a long time. Right
yeah.
through it. We washed our cars, we played in it.
That's not very environmentally friendly.
I was then, didn't have anywhere else to go.
In the back up against the wall. I don't, it's,
We don't know that
I
yet.
don't think that the gate would be for the residents.
I don't think, I think that, well, so that would cause a legal issue for them on their side of the fence, if you will. So if you're gonna close so Peachtree City taxpayers pay the taxes on that side of the road. And so if you're a Peachtree City resident that doesn't live in Kedron Hills, and you're trying to cut through there, you know, you should have that right to cut through there because you're a taxpayer and you're traveling on a Peachtree City street and also a county road. So the entire neighborhood would have to be gated in order to make that work. We went through this exercise several years ago when a neighborhood wanted to cut off, it was in the town, but they wanted to cut off a cut through. And the discussion was made, why don't we put a controlled access gate up? And what we landed on legally was that, well, everybody in town would have to have access to that gate because everybody in town pays for those roads. So I think that what they're looking to do is just put a gate up with a combo lock, something like that, that only EMS and the police have access to for emergency purposes only.
Next. Yes, sir, in the camo jacket.
Apologize to people.
Twice a month.
But, has there been a traffic study done that actually
I would have to ask somebody in Peachtree City. Is there a Peachtree City resident that knows? Is there a traffic study been done? Across Dogwood?
Bill Mallon
Are
at
you-
the county does have that
Okay.
information.
Okay, and do you mind if I ask you guys if you're in Kedron Hills, or? Oh, okay, well, welcome. All right, next, well, I mean, welcome anyway, if you had been. Yes, ma'am?
So I lived in Peachtree City. South End near Summer's Mill. High Grove, Whitewater Estates, Wood Creek, all those, Mount Brook, all those are deemed Fayetteville. So I don't know why they're allowed, that part of Fayette County is deemed okay to do it, but our portion of Fayette County is
I,
banned. It doesn't make sense.
I think, well, first of all, I've been asked to restate questions because some of you in the back can't hear. Question is, down on the south end of Peachtree City, it is permitted and even encouraged at all of those different High Grove and that area. I can only give you my conjecture on that. And then I'll ask somebody if they know the actual answer. I think it's because they wanted that ability to get to the Stars Mill area, and it was something that was beneficial for them, and this is not as beneficial. That's to them, in their minds. It was not something that they were trying to get to. So, Yes.
A lot of us that love Peachtree City, we have roots in but we do value Peachtree City
Sure,
also,
sure.
and we have a lot of friends and family that come back and forth. So
Mhm.
it's not just Tyrone going over there, and if we could invite them to come to Tyrone, and they could come our downtown as well. So I
All
don't
right.
know why we can't work together.
Sure. And for those of you in the back, she said, I love Tyrone. Um, No, the question is essentially, why can't we just get along? And I just got off the phone 10 minutes before I came in here with a Peachtree City councilman. And I said, listen, we want to come to you and we want you to come to us. We want Peachtree City residents to be shopping at our shops and eating at our restaurants. And he said, and we want the same for you. And I thought, okay, well, all right, well, that's a game changer. So, and I said, but I was never asked to come and talk about this ahead of time. Maybe I will be. We might be jumping the gun a little bit, according to mayor and council. We might be a little bit ahead of what they were thinking. I don't know. Am I wrong on that answer? Is that okay? Back in the back again. Sure. Mhm. Eh, They, all right, sure. Called you out. All right, duly noted, duly noted. I had no idea that this was on the table. So it's hard for me to call them to a meeting that I didn't, on a topic I didn't know. But to your point, I'll say I need to be more proactive on this subject and say, how can we create a system where we're more interactive? And the, I wish you could be in conversations that I've had over the last 2 weeks. I promise you, if you had been sitting in the room for those conversations, you would be saying, wow. Some of them don't want to have a conversation with us.
This is not the first time that we've had issues with a certain southern borders, okay? I mean, we tried, even with the sewers, when we originally wanted, and correct me if I'm wrong, we went to Peachtree City first with WASA, which is the Water and Sewer Authority. And they basically refused us, okay? They need us because they've overbuilt on their sewers, and we would have been a great addition to them. We wanted to partner up with them on them. WASA was a service provider to us for what sewers we do have here in town. And we had a great relationship with them. And when council in that southern border town, they took over WASA, they they eliminated all of that responsibility. We lost our services from WASA. We had to go elsewhere. And as a result, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, we went to another neighbor to the north, and they offered us exactly what we need, and we're still working with them. And they've done a great job for us, and thank goodness they have.
I called multiple members of council and the mayor and spoke to them today and said, I don't want this to turn into us as a community just bashing Peachtree City. I'm going to try to, I'm going to try to monitor that as best I can. And somebody that was with me at the time said, why do you do that? Why do you try to be nice to them? And we have other issues that we have to work with them. And to your point, we need to be making progress on issues. I take the criticism, and I respect it, and I understand it. At the same time, I think we're trying a little bit more than you think we're trying. So if you won't mind me saying that in response. Yes, sir.
I'm all for getting along. I lived in Peachtree City.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think you need a stick. Block these access points, slam the door in our face, and that there's nothing we can do about it. I don't believe it. I think there's legally, especially on a road that's been in existence for 50 years. I don't have those answers, but I think people do, and we should get help. Have that, yeah.
And,
If this vote is next week or something.
all right. Oh, I meant to go back to you. How do you know they're voting on this on November 4th? Okay, I spoke with the mayor today, and she said, not on the agenda, has heard nothing about it being on the agenda. So I don't know. It's possible. Right. Okay. And don't forget, that's 2 days after Election Day. I'll let you think about that. Yes, ma'am. Hmm? The end of Sims Road, this end of Sims Road, I believe, is the county.
County, yep.
That's the county. Is that your question? Mm-hmm. I saw it today. Yeah. It's a beautiful road, but that's deeper into the county. So that would be, I mean, that has, other than me seeing it today, that's not really been on my radar screen. I didn't fully answer your question, sir, in the striped shirt. I promise you we're swinging some sticks in coordination with the county and attorneys and that kind of thing, but I'm certainly not going to talk about them on the live stream. Yes.
I'm landlocked, I guess you
Mm-hmm.
I cannot get the one that's the death trap.
Mm-hmm.
Go down Tyrone Road. All the cars coming up,
It-
even if you try to get to Hamlin Road. So, I'm hearing
How many years is it going to be? That we can,
You mean other than what we're constructing?
what you're
What-
constructing?
That should be, staff, I'm going to let you all answer what the timeline is on.
I believe the completion timeline is within the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay. What about turnover dirt? What about turnover dirt?
To start turning dirt. Is Scott here? Scott.
Scott's our engineer. Have we?
That was
Have we finished? Have we finished land acquisition?
No.
We have not paid for the first land acquisition yet.
We are in the process. We are talking to landowners. Our attorneys are talking to landowners about the right-of-way acquisition and the easements. As soon as that is complete, then we know we have the path that we've chosen, which Philip has highlighted here. And then we're ready to move, to move forward.
Places in Town of Tyrone I would love to go. I can't go. I've sent park paths because they couldn't drive. I mean, I have seen golf carts, which cross over 74. So there is close to hitting one of them. I can't get there.
Yeah, this path connection on Tyrone Road is what is planned to connect all of basically East Tyrone that has access off of Tyrone Road and Far Road directly into. Yeah, 12, I believe, Scott, is it between 12 and 18 months to completion on that one? That is not a SPLOST project, that's just coming out of the general fund.
Yes. Srijai? Yeah. I don't know. Mhm. That's a problem for them. That would be hours through the county, hours, taxpayer dollars through the county. They would have to have a turnaround of some sort, so they would probably construct a cul-de-sac and we would all pay for it. But that causes a problem for, the Kedron Hills because that's officially a blocked off area. So,
They can't get their emergency vehicles in there.
yeah, the only way to get the emergency vehicles, couldn't go through there. That's a turnaround.
And in terms of gated subdivisions can exist if the roads are private. Public road, you can't use public dollars for a private road, essentially. So, I mean, technically, the Kedron Hill subdivision would still have one public access off of Peachtree Parkway. So if they gated both entrances, then that would be a bit of a predicament, usually for a municipality, just generally speaking, because all taxpayers pay for the roads in that subdivision that live within that municipality. But that's just the answer to that
So,
question.
No, they're not buying
well,
the
they're trying to
road.
buy just a little,
Piece of
what they
property.
call a stub, I believe. No. Next, on Crabapple Road, please.
I believe we had a question in the front. You good?
You're good? Yes, sir?
If, is that paved portion of the road that
Two other individuals have made offers or firms or whatever. And it's not the money, apparently it's not the money that they're interested in because that was much higher. Yes.
Because I'm very good. But no, but in all seriousness, thank you. No, but not that kind of lawyer. But the point is, to me, it's a matter of resource allocation. You're getting a very clear signal from Peachtree City that they ain't interested. I could just, some people saying, well, we should try this, we should figure this out. You need a dance partner, and carrots and sticks work great if you have somebody who's willing to play along. And I'm getting a very clear signal here, and so in the interest of just being my voice for it, let's allocate resources a different way. By the way, I hate taxes, not a big fan at all. But, I mean, a capital campaign or something, that I think that one of the answers to why isn't Tyrone better is probably a matter of political will, and maybe political will to build things. So, to the extent that there's not already stuff happening, because I don't know what's happening. You don't want to play ball, like you can't really do anything.
That's definitely our goal. That's why we're doing all this stuff to revitalize downtown and make it to where less people want to get on a golf cart and get out of Tyrone, and they want to stay, here.
Just for one example, if they were gonna file like an ex parte TRO to get this shut down pending a merits decision.
Tell everybody what ex parte means.
So if they wanted to go to court and just go to court without the other side there and get an ex parte order from a court, meaning they're not there, you gotta show imminent injury, you have to all these things, and the standard is super high. Let's say we could do that. And let's say the timeline's really tight. It's a huge amount. It's not a little bit of money, it's a huge amount. First step. That's just getting, put the brakes on it, and then we gotta go get an injunction, and then we gotta go in on the merits. We're talking high six figures to get that done. Something that this town doesn't even want us to be a part of. It's our money.
This town meaning,
Peachtree City.
thank you.
Not Tyrone, yeah. Peachtree City. That's wasted motion,
Thank
it's
you.
a waste of my money. I'm a taxpayer here, same as anybody else, so if you're asking me what I wanna do with my money, build cool stuff in Tyrone here, make it awesome here. I would love to, but I can't force them to let me in. It's their town. What I would rather do is build an awesome golf cart on Briarwood Road, because I live there, and start connecting things. I would love it if they would participate in this conversation. How many times do you have to get jilted before you're like, I don't know if I want to spend $800 grand to get this to win this time. $500 grand to win the next time.
All right, yes, ma'am.
I would like to volunteer for Target, Kroger, and down there say, Peachtree City, we're like, do not do this. I don't know what it would take to.
I'd be,
I
if
think,
you,
I think your apps, oh, okay.
I'm real aware of what's around, what's coming in.
It's different, the whole experience of the golf cart. The city.
Yeah.
Just shut us off.
I'll be happy to talk to Colin about it. He's one I have not spoken with. He's the head of the Chamber of Commerce. I'd be happy to speak with. But going back to you, if you want to start a group like that, I'd be happy to give you heads of companies, owners of companies in there. I know the owners of 2 restaurants in there that I can let you know exactly who to ask for, and if some people want to help you, that'd be awesome. We'll ask. We'll ask before you have to go to work. I had a hand over here. Yes. Uh, Well, I think they need to hear from Peachtree City voters. If you know people in Peachtree City that are like, wait a minute, this is not what we want to represent.
They're in the back of the room. Yeah. Hold a special town hall and you know the press is going to show up, right? Yes. I've spoken with the mayor of Fayetteville. Have you spoken with Ray about this? I've spoken with the mayor of Fayetteville, and he thinks like we do. So, and I personally wouldn't be inclined to shut anybody out or regardless. So I don't want to put any words in his mouth, but he is, he sees this as a head shaker. Mhm. Yes, they are. Yes.
I do want to interject, just, I think conversations like that are worthwhile. I think that the residents that are in that area near Stars Mill may have a Fayetteville address for zip coding purposes, but I think they're in the unincorporated county. So the elected officials that have jurisdiction there are going to be the county commissioners, which I know they've
Good
been
point.
very involved.
Good point.
But I mean, Fayetteville conversations are probably still.
Yes, but we have meetings with the other cities all the time. And so those, or we did before COVID, I guess I should say. And they kind of have fallen by the wayside. We also have what's called the Fayette County Intergovernmental Committee, and the chamber runs that. And where we discuss issues that are important to all of us. And this is a perfect issue that we would discuss. I'll have to ask Colin when the next one is going to take place, and so, yes. I think it's Peachtree City's until Kedron purchases that property. I don't go back to the agenda question, ma'am. It may be that it ends up on the agenda, not on the agenda, but it may be action taken, but it's done in an executive session because it's a matter of real estate. So if it's real estate acquisition, you do that in executive session. It doesn't go on the agenda. So I was told, and I would hope that I was told the truth, that I have no reason to believe that I was not, that it is not on the agenda, and there was no expectation it would be on the agenda. Will it be discussed in executive session? We'll find out. But right, for now, we're going to be fighting and looking for ways to convince them not to do it. Yes, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. You're using an important term there, reciprocity, and we call those reciprocal agreements. And Brandon alluded to it earlier. I want to touch on, first of all, real estate agents. I would love to have real estate agents in a room to say, be careful about what you tell your buyers regarding what governments are going to do. Governments might not do what you tell them you've heard they were going to do. It could even be a zoning change or something. It's going to be changed to commercial. Well, be careful about telling them that because you don't know how government's going to conduct themselves. There may be a legitimate reason that does not take place. Now I want to go back to reciprocal or the reciprocity that you're talking about. Brandon, will you give a history of the reciprocal agreement that we have had with Peachtree City for golf carts?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of when it was passed, but I know for many years we had a reciprocal agreement with the city of Peachtree City and between us and Peachtree City, where if you were legally registered in either jurisdiction, you could operate your golf cart in the opposite jurisdiction. That went on for years. There were never any problems for us. And then probably 2 years ago, was it, Philip? Somewhere around there, 2 to 3 years ago, we were advised that was, the agreement would no longer be recognized on Peachtree City's end, that Tyrone residents would be required to buy a Peachtree City registration for their golf cart, or they would be ticketed if they were operating a Tyrone registered golf cart in Peachtree City. Our decision on that was, well, okay, there's nothing we can do about what you're doing, but we want Peachtree City visitors in Tyrone, so we're going to honor our side of the deal. And as long as you have a duly registered golf cart, in Peachtree City or Tyrone, then we'll honor that. One of the reasons, the biggest reason that was given was the cost that Peachtree City pays every year for golf cart maintenance, and they needed a way to recoup some of that money, and that because Tyrone was adding golf cart traffic, which there's only about 400-ish golf carts registered in Tyrone. Am I wrong on that number? How many? Okay, so about 600 golf carts in Tyrone. I would imagine that there's not a large number of those that are cutting through over there. Okay, so, so not many of our people are going over there, I think, to warrant, to say that we're causing a significant impact maintenance-wise on their cart pass system. But that was the excuse that was given, and that's where we are. We still honor Peachtree City, and unfortunately, they do not honor our.
I can kind of build on that a little bit. On top of reciprocal agreements, which exist on some specific issues like registration, the county and a lot of the municipalities within Fayette County, we enter into a lot of kind of master planning, kind of regional type projects together. One of those being the 2017 CTP Comprehensive Transportation Plan. As a part of that comprehensive transportation plan was a multi-use path component. And that is funded by all county taxpayers, whether you live in Fayetteville, Tyrone, Woolsey, Brooks, you name it. That plan, that comprehensive transportation plan, addresses this kind of issue specifically, or at least, well, it addresses it generally, and it's kind of specifically listed. I've got an excerpt of it here. So it's showing connectivity options, not just for car traffic, but for multi-use traffic as well, and proposed projects that hopefully each of the cities would pick up on and respect in terms of access to each other. It identifies options for that. This is a very high-level plan. This is not something that we get down into it. Some of these are shown on 74. We've already mentioned that GDOT's kind of put the kibosh on anything going within the right-of-way on 74, but there are other options there. And normally what happens at the end of some of these master planning projects is that each of the municipalities and the county itself will kind of informally adopt it as, yes, this is the direction that we're going to go. It's not known to me whether or not Peachtree City adopted this plan, the master path plan here, but a lot of the municipalities in Fayette County did. This is an exercise that we go through every couple of years, probably every 5 to 10 years or so. We will all come together and do a master transportation plan or some kind of master plan of some sort regarding these issues. That's kind of on top of reciprocal agreements, but each city is independent in its own activity and its own jurisdiction. And so that's just kind of where we end up having a little bit of a block is we can make overtures and efforts amongst all the municipalities and amongst all the government entities in the county, but it is still each city's independence that rules the day. And so sometimes, they make decisions that may not go in concert with plans that were made in the past or reciprocal agreements that were agreed to in the past. So it's just something that we do kind of have to encounter every once in a while. I'll also make a little bit of a shameless plug for the town's LCI in terms of kind of building up the town itself and kind of talking about Mr. Eister's comment on raising funds without raising taxes. That's the type of stuff that we try and energize in the town center. So being able to access a master plan for ourselves or produce a master plan for ourselves allows us to access federal funds that are otherwise not available. It allows us to start up quasi-governmental entities like a DDA that can utilize some form of tax money, but that can also start capital campaigns, that can start different types of revolving loan funds for businesses to help revitalization, all of those types of things. And we're kind of wrapping up the end of that downtown master plan, but we're going to be entering into a comprehensive plan for the town that's due for an update. And I encourage everybody to participate in that because that's kind of where we can start to gauge interest on different things that we can pursue as a town, to start something like a DDA where we can develop the town and we can develop cart path networks, but also find a creative way of doing that without raising taxes, so.
And we don't get in a room and decide what we should do for Tyrone. We go out into the community and get input from the community on what they want to see in Tyrone. And then it's implemented, approved by council in some way, and then implemented by staff. That's how that all works. So we need everybody, when you see advertisements for this kind of thing, some type of community engagement, we need engagement so that we know what you want. Yeah.
We want that.
As do we.
Crabapple Lane's gonna close maybe.
And let me ask you this, that maybe this is a good way to, what are we, in your perception, what are we not doing on Crabapple that you think we should be doing? This could be a frank discussion. Right. Right. Yes, we do. We have, and that's what we were talking about earlier. Is tell me, what are some legal hurdles that they might come upon in what they're trying to do? And if this were in court, what's going to happen? Are they going to have a problem with that? Now, Tyrone property doesn't go there. I don't know that we would even have standing. I don't know. That's another question. And, should one city be suing another city in our county? Man, that would be so unfortunate. And we got to take care of our people, though. So, and that was not a threat, media. That was not a threat. Yes. Oh, huge, huge. Yes. There's one resident in there, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but their daughter, who does not, drive a car, drives the golf cart to work at Kedron Kroger, drives to school at Clayton State, and has to take a golf cart through that route. What do you do? Do you cut off that route? I mean, that's unconscionable. Mhm. Were you trying to get?
I was just showing you the letter.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mhm. The, the, the question is, would it be yes. Yes, the question is, would it be beneficial for any of us to show up at a Peachtree City council meeting and express our opinion? I believe that their public comment period is somewhat similar to ours, in that if you have a comment about something that does not appear on the agenda, you can speak in the public comment period at the top of the agenda. And so they say this is not on the agenda. I would only say, when you appeal with genuine, convincing arguments rather than I'm just ticked off. That's what works for me. I don't know what works for you guys. But really, I think that's the argument. So yes, sir. Thank you. That's good. That's a great argument. And that's the type of thing, is to appeal to the neighborly factor. I mean, the only thing that's been said to me is that it's done because of safety. So, yeah. That's the only argument that's been made. Yes, Lynn. And by the way, if anybody needs a research assistant, hire this lady, because she's really good. Did you just say that they limit the entire period to 10 minutes? So if you don't sign up in time, okay. All right. Ms. Dufresne might have more intel on this. Okay. All right. That's good. Now, by the way,
So the executive session, they kick everybody out of the room, and when they kick that, I forget what it is, and they are required to open the doors and allow the public back in. And once the public is back in is when they can actually vote, or the mayor can bring something up for a vote. So most people that would come in before the, at the executive session, when they're kicked out of the room, they're not at the top end. Nope, just push your butt right there in the chair, and you wait for the doors to open back up, no matter how long they stay in executive session.
wow.
And march back in there to actually hear what they want to hear.
I'd imagine having our executive session in this room. That's strange. Yes, ma'am. Okay, and the question for those on live stream, this question is, when they say safety perspective, I mean traffic safety. I don't mean people's. Well, that's a good question. Oh, did a study tell you that? Well, not that they've told me. I do not mean people's safety. I mean traffic safety. And so that's the argument of one of the council members that I spoke with. Is that accurate?
There's
Yes.
also, there's a screenshot of an email that was found in I believe you posted it, ma'am. That was found through an open records request. It's an email from the HOA president to to one of the council members in Peachtree City, and it just makes it clear that they don't want vehicular or golf cart traffic through their neighborhood. And it's just,
So that takes away the safety. That
Ma'am?
takes away the safety argument, but
well, it does specifically say outside,
yeah,
but yeah.
you're right.
But everybody's outside when they're accessing golf cart paths. They go through all the other neighborhoods and
Right, right.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. Get some cars, but
Will you take this? Come and see me. All right, next question.
Maybe that
Anybody?
one against the wall over there, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Are you talking about, you're saying race? I'll say it. Listen, I've battled this for all of my children's lives as to, this being an issue between us and others in our county, or whether it's Sandy Creek is not as good, or keep your kids away from Sandy Creek, or where I go to church, or whatever. I've battled that for, a long time, and don't try to tell me that that's not part of your argument, is what I try to say. Don't dance around that. If that's what you're thinking, then say it. Now, that said, I can't accuse them of that because I don't have any proof.
The arguments that we have heard have been centered around traffic safety and just generally not wanting traffic from outside of Peachtree City going through their neighborhood.
Brandon, isn't there going to be a small subdivision going to be built on the county, unincorporated Fayette County right there alongside of Crabapple? If you're going down Crabapple on the left side, isn't that their intention?
So that's part of the issue there, is they're worried about more homes
Right.
coming into that area.
Exactly.
That's what they're looking at. That's them seeing, quote, what's coming. And, but I will remind you, per capita income in Tyrone is higher than it is in Peachtree City. Just to make sure the record's straight. Yes, ma'am. I don't know. Yeah. You mean Fayetteville address, unincorporated county, down on the south end?
Yeah.
Yes. Right, because really Fayette. Right. Told you she could do some research.
So for,
No. Okay, yes, sir, and then yes, sir. Boy, I haven't thought about that. That's a thought I will. Is this something where we have gone on the federal level to discuss with members of Congress? Because if in the event that this is some type of violation of the Fair Housing Act, that I'd have to ask an attorney, and with council's permission, I'll do so. Yes, sir, in the striped shirt.
Always, very all pay our money.
Speak to how the taxes are divvied.
Yeah, taxes are divvied up based on millage rate, and each section of the municipalities and the Board of Education, and everybody has a separate millage rate that's voted on every year by your council people. And that's how Fayette County divvies it up. So a big portion of our money in Tyrone goes to Tyrone, to the Fayette County people, and it's used by the county, all over the county. A certain amount goes to Tyrone, and that's what we use here to do stuff in Tyrone. And so that's how it's divvied up. Is that in-
Sort of,
Well-
sort of.
Yeah, I mean, they do take it and well, it doesn't, none of the money that we pay here in Tyrone would actually end up in Peachtree City. Yeah, it all goes to the county, and then the county splits it up. And so Tyrone people. But they do it based on individuals. I mean,
Right.
they do. They have to, because they get audited.
Yeah, so the money you're paying as a Tyrone resident is going to Tyrone and the county.
And the Board of Education.
And the Board of Education. Your individual taxes aren't going to Peachtree City proper. It might be a project that's close to Peachtree City, but, not to Peachtree City as a
The
municipality.
only tax of ours that goes to Peachtree City is that if you shop in Tyrone, sales tax goes and is split on a predetermined. So that's sales tax, obviously. Are y'all not getting tired of us yet? Anybody else? No, you go ahead. I get it. I get it. No, this is a huge issue. That's, I know I've sacrificed what I thought was a friendship with a Peachtree City councilman. It appears as though it's pretty severed. And it's because we have to, I didn't just make a call and say, listen, I know you got to do what you got to do, but we hope you won't. It wasn't like that for me. It was like, this is crazy. Are you kidding me? So, you know, I don't know who else to get on board with this other than the county, really. Is there any location where the city of Fayetteville actually has much of a crossing here?
Not to my knowledge.
There's city of Fayetteville address, but not literal.
Fayetteville's in the
borders.
purple on this map, so they don't really approach Peachtree City's limits.
So, I don't, maybe I'm not fully understanding your question. I don't want to not consider what you're speaking of, but joining with the county and working as hard as we can on this is what we're doing. How would you grandfather in from a structural standpoint? Right. Okay, so now I see where you, I thought you, when you were saying fringe, I thought you were about cities. So let's take Stonecrest, for example. That's there before this issue came up. Or even our friends that are literally on Crabapple. They're there. Okay, then let's say a new neighborhood is built on Dogwood near that same intersection. If somebody in Stonecrest wants to get down Crabapple to Loring Lane, how is it going to be determined from an enforcement standpoint who's coming in and who's, you know, what neighborhood are you coming from? Okay. Okay. Understood. Yes, sir. So if I may ask you in a hypothetical, if you're sitting and negotiating or discussing this topic with all of their mayors, or the mayor and city council members, what's your appeal? Is that consistent among all of the, or the vast majority of the residents on there? Okay, yeah. It's almost never unanimous. But, so you would say just abandon this idea? That would be your appeal? The idea of closing the road? And if they said, well, the neighborhood has asked 111 to 5 to do this, so they're feeling that pressure, is there anything that you would fall back on, or what? I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but it helps me to know how to discuss this issue. Mm-hmm. Bingo. They have come by your house for 25 years, but now they don't want anybody coming by theirs. Okay. I hope you would appeal to the Peachtree City Council. I would hope that you can make November 4th meeting. Because you're right, that's hypocrisy. Where, you lived, okay. But never down Crabapple? They don't ever, the cars don't ever come through there to, okay. Mm-hmm.
That backs up there already. There was a fatality there in recent years.
Good point. Yes, sir. You go, so if you live in, say, Stonecrest, all right, you go through Kedron Hills. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right.
No, I'm saying, so if not, the alternative is,
Gotcha.
this is an alternative.
How long is your drive on a golf cart? Okay.
It's almost comparable.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. That was my understanding. What?
Say in the HOA,
Hmm.
all those people are on the backside, which
Mhm.
are probably the,
Right.
so they live in that neighborhood. I don't think that I think there's 45 or 50 homes.
I was told around 30, but it could be higher.
Not part of the HOA.
I hear you. Okay. Yes, ma'am. We're not certain of any decision.
Would it do any good to get the representatives, our state representatives, our Senate involved in any of this stuff that live here locally?
If they're willing. If they have the nerve to do so. I mean,
We have a couple residents that have spoken with me, and they are reaching out to Marty Harbin and, and a few of the others.
okay,
And hopefully they will get involved.
I'll
That
call
would be-
Marty, he's a good friend of mine, I'll call Marty and see.
that would be Marty and Josh Bonner.
Yeah, I know Josh Brown, I'll call him too.
And then, in Kathy Estates, who is your state rep? Is it Derek Jackson?
No,
State rep? Yeah, I think so.
way over in Kathy Estates
think
on
so.
Far Road.
I think so.
Wow.
Yes, he lives in River Oaks, but he represents me, and I live way down in Castlewood. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, so you could talk to Representative Jackson. I'm willing to stay, I have dinner with my family at 7, but I'm willing to keep staying here until y'all are finished. I'm not running you off. You're welcome. Thank you. If you want to stay and ask more questions, you feel free. Do you mind if Philip goes home?
No.
Phil, why don't you go home? We're not running you off. Seriously, we're staying here until, Lynn?
My dinner's ready in 45 minutes at She-Craft, so I've got some
Okay,
time.
all right.
She crap, listen, we need to go with him.
Anyone else? Any questions? Anybody want to tell me how bad Tyrone is?
Yes,